on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Apex presented by Rock Shack. We're on the podcast with Jamil Coury, business owner, ultra runner, YouTube host, podcaster, a dad, and much more. Anyways, Jamil, how you doing, dude?
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be on.
No, dude, I'm stoked to have you on as well. Like I said, man, I think what's really cool about running these podcasts is the people that I get to meet, and especially because I run the other podcast, but especially like having the opportunity to run it for an organization and then hear about these new things that are getting put in. Like now we have this run. Now I get to meet you. So tell us a little bit about you, because we got cyclists listening to this, and hopefully now we got some runners listening to this. But who are you, man? Because I did a deep dive into you this weekend, and I'm actually really stoked to be chatting with you.
Yeah, I'm super into running, and specifically ultra marathon trail running. That is kind of my life's passion and what I love to do personally. It's kind of gets my juices flowing and gets me out there, adventuring around the world. It's taken me all over the place. So it's something that I love, and I love to share it with others, share the passion. And I think it's a great sport. Sometimes I ride bikes, so I have done some mountain biking as well. So I do understand a little bit about that part of it as well.
No, yeah, that's super sick. So where are you from originally?
Yeah, I'm from Phoenix, and I'm still in the area. So
yeah, and so what's kept you in Phoenix? Because I know it's just like super mad hot. And
yeah, I mean, I have a ton of family here, both sides. Big families, so that's definitely a draw. But to be honest, I mean, Arizona is such a diverse state. We have really a bit of everything within a couple hours drive. So as far as adventuring in the outdoors goes, we really have a lot to offer. And even around Phoenix, I think if it wasn't for all the amazing mountain ranges and trail systems that are dispersed around town, I probably would have left a long time ago. But the fact that I can get out onto dirt within a few, either right from my doorstep or from a 15-minute drive, is something that keeps me here.
All right, because it's a cycling thing too, like when the guys live in Arizona, like, because that's our Colorado like lifestyle, right? Like in January to March, even April, we all migrate to your lovely state and soak in the sun. But we leave when the rides have to start at like 3 in the morning. So what is like the earliest time that you're getting up? Because I was just out and I thought 90 degrees was hot, and I can only imagine what it's like in Phoenix right now.
I've actually been kind of enjoying getting in the later night runs. So once the sun sets down, kind of getting out there on the streets, and that's been my go-to. But it's funny you mentioned that, because since 2007, I've been going to Colorado for like 1 to 2 months every summer. And it is like a great yin and yang for us Arizonans as well. I spend a lot of time in the San Juan Mountains of Colorado. I was just up there a week ago, and that's kind of how I keep the sanity, is kind of get out of here for a few weeks.
Right on. And so let's dive into a little bit about you, man. About you, like, how do you even get into running? Like ultra running, and I found out about ultra running through coaching partner of this company, as well, or of this race, as well as somebody that I work with as a cycling coach with CTS, and I've met the likes of Jason Coop and all these people, and I even have how to become an ultra runner. I mean, it's practically like the runner's guide or whatever. And I started reading that because I just got so intrigued, because it's one thing to go out and ride your bike, I think, for 100 miles, but to go run for 100 miles it's mind-boggling to me. So where did you find the love, find the passion, and even kind of stumble into that sport? Because cycling's a goofy sport, but I think running is like that next level of just craziness.
Well, I got into it quite a while ago now. 2005 was my first ultra marathon, and that was before all the press about it. Like there's like books that have been written about it now, and all these YouTube videos and films and things. And back then there was none of that. It was a very simple sport. And I fell into running originally in high school, didn't make the golf and soccer teams. I wanted to do a high school sport. The track team didn't cut anyone. So there I was, running the 800 meter, the mile, the 2 mile. And I would like throw up after every 800 meter race I ran. So it was a love-hate relationship. And once I got into college, I didn't run for my college cross country or track teams. But I kind of fell in with the local trail running crowd and just found this local group that liked to run trails every Wednesday morning, and come to find out a bunch of them would run these ultra marathons. And there was just a handful of them in Arizona at the time. And it just kind of blew my mind to hear about these folks that would just go run all day, all night in the mountains. I grew up in Boy Scouts as well. So, I have an appreciation for camping and backpacking in the outdoors. And this was, for me, the perfect blend of running, which I loved, and with getting into the outdoors and traveling a long way. So that's kind of the long and short of, like, once I found it and put the pieces together, I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely my thing.
Yeah.
I love doing this.
It's just like a mixture of everything that you liked about the other things all put into one kind of.
Exactly. Yeah. I can do a 3 or 4 day backpacking trip in a day. I can see it all.
No, that's crazy. And so, like, let's kind of dive into your businesses. And like, there's a lot of S's on the end of businesses, because like doing your research on you, like, I thought I was a busy dude. And it seems like you have like even like 3 different media companies, and I can't even keep up with it, like with the Mountain Outposts, Steep Life Media. But Aravaipa, let's like start there. With it as an organization, where does it start? What's the overall, like, what's the mission? Like, that's your company, and it looked like a family affair. I mean, I even saw somebody with the same last name that's head of the aid stations, and like,
yeah, exactly.
That's super sick.
Yeah, it's definitely a family affair, and I take that from my dad. He was in business with his brothers. They had a grocery store, of all things, and then an auto shop, and like, they kind of have a bunch of things. It's like this Lebanese immigrant type thing
Cool.
going on. So yeah, I fell into race directing, and I took over the Javelin 100. I was a year out of college. I was working a tax accounting job, and I had a friend who was putting on this race. At the time it was a 6.5 lap race in the desert, 100 miles, crazy costumes, a big party. And he had moved to Colorado, and he's like, hey, would you like to put this on? I had been volunteering with him quite a bit with various events, and just kind of took the deep dive and was like, this sounds really cool. I would love to, put this event on and potentially put on some other ones. And did that first year in 2008. And then from there, I was like, not so stoked on just sitting at a desk all day, doing tax returns.
You don't strike me as a tax accountant. I mean, I would definitely go to you. Like, I would be really excited to see, like, because you know how they have, like, when it's tax season, they have those guys on the side that are like twirling signs, like, oh yeah, come do
that
your
would be
taxes
me.
here.
Yeah.
Come see this guy. I'm just kidding. No, but so you went from tax accounting to running like these big party running races.
Yeah, long and short of it. So that I just made it through that one tax season. And, a lot of times people will make that push through tax season. They take a little time off over the summer. And my thing was, I was going to hike across the state of Arizona. So 2 days after tax season was over, I was on the Mexico border, and in 31 days, I hiked all the way to Utah. And, that was a bit of a life-changing experience for me. I was already kind of into the ultra running thing, but this kind of cemented, like, I can't just do the accounting track and be a CPA. Yeah. So I never went back to the job, and I dove headfirst into the event directing, and the rest is kind of history. So,
which is probably pretty good for running events, because you could just do the taxes for your events, bro. Like, I mean, actually a hard part for it, isn't it?
I mean, I still do a lot of the bookkeeping and a lot of that kind of stuff. So it definitely, has come in handy.
All right. Yeah. And so how many events do you guys put on every year with Aravaipa? You guys put on mountain bike races as well, yeah?
We have some mountain bike races as well. Yes, we do. I mean, honestly, we've kind of lost track, but generally it's every other weekend throughout the whole year. Wow. We've got something going on. We switched to night races in the summertime out here in Arizona.
Sweet. And so can you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite race?
Oh man, it's got to be the Cocodona 250.
Yeah.
It's a new race we launched 2 years ago. It It's a point-to-point 250-mile nonstop foot race across central Arizona, landscapes, old historic towns. It's like a dream race. And I got to run it the first year. It was super cool.
No, that's awesome. And so, are you running a lot of these races, or is the pilot hat on, and you kind of have to you have to put your big boy pants on, and you can't go have fun.
So I usually get to run and participate in maybe like 5 or 6 of our own races. And just because I run one of the distances doesn't mean I'm not working before or after.
You're 100% working. I know you are. Yeah,
but sometimes, I will take maybe 1 or 2 races a year where I really go for it of our own, but I also run lots of other events as well. I just ran the Hard Rock 100, which is a loop in the San Juans. It connects Silverton, Telluride, Ouray. So just coming off that right now.
Cool. How you feeling?
Honestly, pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. I'm really enjoying the recovery, just, 1 or 2 easy runs and cycles a week.
Cool, man. And so let's kind of because like I said, you run many businesses, and I think you have a pretty strong media presence. And you have everything from what looks to be like movie style videos. Like I could sit down with popcorn, turn the lights out, and it's like a legit movie. And then you have like these quick 6-minute videos that look like they were shot on an iPhone, but it's still like great quality, great content. Like, how did you dive into this media life? And it looks like you've been doing it for years. Like, it hasn't been just, oh, I'm going to do this for my business and do it. It looks like you actually are super passionate about it, because you're uploading videos like pretty much every day. I think your last video was 4 days ago.
Yeah, we have a few YouTube channels, and each one kind of has its own little niche in what we do. And yeah, I've always enjoyed making video content, even when I first got into the sport or even before then. And so it's just kind of been an evolution over the years. And part of it's just sharing, I guess, my passion for the sport. Some of it is kind of promoting our events and kind of the things that we have going on. And some of them are just, educational or just pure entertainment and fun. We have this one channel that's kind of like a grab bag of random stuff called Mountain Outpost. And we've done like these crazy challenge videos on there. We do a kind of a satirical news show sometimes, talking about the sport of ultra running and what's happening in it.
Yeah. And so I guess diving into a little bit of, the running culture and things like that, you've, like you said, you're just coming off Hard Rock, right?
Yep.
And so is that your 7th time you finished that, or is that your 6th time?
That was my 6th time.
Okay, because I have it in my notes. I got my notes before you finished your race, so they were planning on you to finish.
I guess so. I mean, I had finished every other time, so they were betting on me, it sounds like.
Heck yeah. And so in cycling, we go through these like little spaces, right? And it's like, because you've probably heard about the gravel scene and like these, even the Apex, right? Like, we go through these ups and downs, and like, you have to have those even heavier in running, right? Like, it's got to be even crazier. And I'm like talking about like, there's moments where I'm like, I feel like I'm an inch away from like, okay, I'm done. Like, somebody's gonna get me. And then, an hour or so later, I'm like a god. Like, I feel like all the training that I've ever done in life is for this one moment. Like, I'm about to win or something. And so what's it like in running? Like, because I feel like, because you get to see so much in running, because everything, especially in cycling, right? Like, because it's like slowed down, like you're outside of the car. But in running, I feel like it's even more slowed down. So what's that like, that experience?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge attraction for me, is like, it's going to get hard. It's going to get really tough. And like, what are you going to do when you get through those moments or get to those moments? It's not always fun. And fortunately, you don't remember those lowest moments later, like as bad as they are.
You just know you've been through them.
Yeah, you've been through them, and it was bad, but you're like, I'm not in discomfort right now. But yeah, the swing of the highs and lows is definitely something that I seek out, especially it starts to hit. And that's why I do like, say, 100-mile distance or even further now, where the sport is evolving and has these 200-mile or 250-mile races, and it's even more pronounced. And the accomplishment of getting to that finish line is just so much more pronounced. But yeah, there's times when I'm out there where I'm like, why am I doing this? What is the point? I'm feeling terrible. But then, like you said, I don't know, a couple hours later, you're on top of the world, you're flying again. And
Yeah.
it's incredible how the human body can even do that.
Yeah, what little gummy bears and a little bit of Coke can do for you to
Yeah,
take you to that next level. So
exactly.
speaking of that, what is the toughest race you've done? Because like you've said, you've done loads of them. What's the toughest race
Yeah.
you've done? And then do you have any like crazy running experience stories, like where it's just been like, oh man, this is kind of funny. You know, this happened in this race, and you know, whatever.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's probably a toss up between Cocodona and the Barkley Marathons. I've been fortunate enough to have, I think, 6 attempts at the Barkley,
Yeah.
and it's this crazy race in Tennessee. It's an unmarked loop, has a ton of climbing, and almost no one finishes the race. They've had 15 people finish in
Oh, I've heard
35
about
years.
this. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard about this. Okay.
So you're just scrambling up and down these hills in Tennessee, off trail with no markings, day and night through terrible weather.
Is there a time
It's amazing.
cutoff?
Yeah, 60 hours. And
Okay.
so it's 5 loops of the same loop, and you have 12 hours to complete each loop. So what happens is you get lost, or you've done so much climbing, your legs are trash, you just can't keep pace. And so I've never finished it yet. I have, if you complete 3 of the 5 loops, they call it a fun run. So I have 3 fun runs, which is
Okay.
actually pretty decent. There's not a lot of people that will do a fun run, so I'm still going after it.
That's
But
so
maybe, yeah,
savage. Just oh yeah, it's just a fun run.
yeah, exactly. I mean, the whole event is just ridiculous. You definitely check it out if you haven't seen much about it. There's a couple of good documentaries online about it, but yeah, I've got some good stories about the Barkley. Like I've fallen asleep under like boulders before and just slept through rainstorms out there,
Oh man.
like over the time cutoff. It's just wild stuff.
No, that's insane. And then so like what I guess past that though, like, you know, with the, you know, what's the longest race you've done? Is that the Cocodona, the 250?
Yeah, Cocodona. It was 250 miles, 93 hours.
Oh my gosh. And so at like what point, like, because you can't just go out and train 250 miles. Like, how do you train for a 250-mile race? Like, you know what I mean? It's not like you're running 250 miles every weekend. Like, you know, if I'm coaching somebody to do a century for the first time, we may hit a century one time, you know, just go give it a shot.
Yeah.
There had to be a point in that race, because I remember watching one of the videos where a guy was like, one of your videos, and a guy was like, oh yeah, 104 miles. I just hit my longest run ever. Like, has
Yeah.
that ever, does that happen with you too?
Oh, at some point, yeah. I mean, I did do the Tahoe 200 a few years ago, and that's a 200-mile race that in circle goes around Lake Tahoe in California, and Nevada. And that was my longest at the time. Like I had only gone up to 100 miles before that. So yeah, every mile you do, you're going into this uncharted territory. And then it happened again with the 250, where I'm like, wow, this is insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, over time, you just keep going, you nap. It's just a sole focus, like moving ahead, moving forward.
Jeez. And so is there any plans of making any of these races longer?
No, not at this point in time.
At
I
this
think the
point?
250 is pretty good. I mean, already, that has a 125-hour cutoff. So we're talking about over 5 days. And it's an insane event to put on, to organize, to conceive. I can't imagine us going further with that style of race.
Yeah.
We do have some fixed time races where you're on a short course, just a loop,
And you can
doing
only
it for
take so long?
24 hours, up to 6 days. And we even have held a 10-day race. And that's about as long as we go.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess diving into your most recent edition race, which is the Apex, which I think is their most recent. But what drew you to Colorado Springs, bro? Like, why Colorado Springs? Why do you want to pop up here? And then I guess more or less, you know, what are we expecting?
Yeah, we've been looking to expand our company and kind of branch out, and Colorado made a lot of sense. We already had a couple races in Colorado, and kind of expanding our footprint into that great state that I've loved coming to was kind of our logical next step. And for us, making a home base in Colorado Springs, I think it made a lot of sense because it's far enough away from Phoenix. where we're not just going to travel up there, for all these races and events
Yeah.
that are going on up there. So that was, and it's just such a great place too. There's so many outdoor trails and ecosystems that really drew us there.
No, that's exciting. And so you have a 5K, 10K, and a 50K. Um, who should run in this Apex? And like, I think a lot of these events are really scary on the outside, right? Like you look at like the Cocodona 250, and I'm not saying like that's no easy feat, right? Like you should just go sign up for the Cocodona 250. Definitely talk to a coach. Definitely work with
Yeah.
somebody. But I think you and I both, in our spaces, look at these events and they're like, we want more people. We want people to know that they can come and they can try their hardest and do their best. And so what people who should run these races? Who do you expect to see at these races? And maybe, you know, in what events? I guess you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, offering these three distances, we really have something for everyone here. Whether you are brand new to trail running or running, and you want to take part in the Apex experience, which has become quite a big thing over the last couple of years, or if you want to try your first ultra marathon, it's a beautiful course that goes up into Cheyenne Canyon. So I think, yeah, I mean, it could be your first 50K. There's nothing to say that it can't be. And then the shorter distances are just something that's great for literally anyone.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting. I mean, literally, my wife was talking about trying to do the 10K now, so she's super excited about it. But I guess that being said, and you guys coming into the Apex, what are you most excited about being a part of the Apex event?
Yeah, I think it just looks like an amazing atmosphere. And I think, anytime we can get kind of blend the two worlds together of like, cycling and running, I think it's a great thing. Sometimes I think we don't all see eye to eye, like out on the trails. There can be some conflict sometimes, but I think at the end of the day, there's a ton of people that cross over. They like to do both. And I think that just being part of like that big atmosphere of the Apex with a trail running event is super exciting. And we're excited to see, where it can go in the future.
No, yeah, there's definitely enough room on the trails for all of us. And
Oh yeah.
if you don't have a bell, cyclist, get a bell. And it takes 10 seconds. Just move over for a second. And so I'm a cyclist. I move over all the time. And we're all out there to share the trails. And so it's super exciting that we can kind of all come together, have fun. Yeah, we might not always see eye to eye, but we're definitely gonna eventually. Is kind of what I want to
Yeah.
do. I think that's the cool thing. So, what's next for you, man? Before I let you go, I need to know what's next for you race wise, as an athlete, and then where you headed off to next as the business guy.
Yeah. Well, I'm just taking my recovery a little bit slow this time. I have a coach right now, so working with him. We're trying to do a build up for next year's Barkley Marathons. It's kind of the big like target. I'm like, I got to get that one done. So
Yeah.
I will be putting in for a lottery for 100-mile race in Hawaii. That'll hopefully be a build up race to that. So that's kind of what's coming up for me.
No, that's exciting. And if I hope you finish the Barkley just so we can hear the stories. And honestly, if you don't, I still want to hear the stories.
I still want to hear it.
It
Yeah,
sounds
it's
like a wild
wild.
event.
It is.
Um,
It is wild. We could spend like probably a couple hours on just that one.
yeah. And then is there any other big things down the pipeline for Aravaipa, or is it just kind of keeping the racing rolling?
Oh yeah, we're rolling. We're heading up to Utah this weekend. We've got an event in some pretty high up mountains. Actually, they're in the Tusher Mountains. So you might have heard of Crusher and the Tusher.
Yeah,
They've
yeah.
got a cycling event up there, and we've got an ultra marathon up there, 100K up and down those crazy mountains. So we'll
That's
be heading up that way this weekend.
like I said, man, I don't know how you guys do it. It's wild, and people always say that to me, and I'm like, oh, it's just mountain biking, or it's just gravel racing or whatever. And so, yeah, I can only imagine what you guys put your bodies through. But we're excited to have you part of the Apex. And guys, if you have more questions or if you just want to check some things out, all you need to do is go down the link in the descriptions below. And like we said, there's an event for everyone. Even if you don't ride a mountain bike, you can come run. You can come walk the 5K, come hang out. And the culture and the people there, I think, is what makes these events work. And so it's really cool to be bringing two amazing cultures together, which is the mountain bike culture and the ultra running culture. and yeah, just putting on a sick event. So really excited to see everyone. Other than that, Jamil, thank you so much for your time, dude. Like I said, I was really stoked to meet you and really stoked to have you on the podcast. And yeah, guys, we'll see you next time. Cheers.